Hey guys, it's me again, Orc Slayer. What if where we last left off? Let's see. Checking. Yeah. Where we last left off, Deku, Kirishima, Mina, and Eri just went to go do the UA entrance exam. Now, then before that, they got cured, they got a place to live. They're pretty much living off the government as in a way, just like provided housing, since they literally have nobody. And they really didn't want to split them up. That could have gone badly. Sorry. As for Deku and them, Deku and Kirishima have been cured somewhat of the big brother thing. In the sense that the only thing that's been reversed is their eating. Like, now they have to eat and drink and such. As well as the fact they need more sleep. And they're aging, technically. They've grown more. And I'd say around their height, they'll probably be around... maybe Endeavor's height, maybe larger. Like around 6'6". Double six to like... be a bit taller than Endeavor, but they won't, like, tower over All Might and such. As Deku and them have made their way to UA entrance exam. Wow, I am somewhat tired. Ugh. Deku and them have been split up because they all went to the same school together. Ah, my eye. Got some dirt in there or something. Ugh. Now, as they all rush in, Kirishima is, like, launching himself ahead of other students. As they see this, like, guy, as he hardens his skin and, slams his way through robots. While using hot coal, well, I believe I gave him, he had the force push, well, pretty much force push. Ice and lightning, I believe, is what I gave him. Deku had fire, telekinesis, and ice as well. As each of the two of them are pretty much scoring like decent amount of scores, like blasting ice and such, and their protective instincts from being big brothers still have a major play on them. Where in one case, Deku saw this like girl like being almost struck from behind with somewhat looks like sharpened metal claws. As he jumped in the way, the claws literally dug into him a little bit, then uppercutted it, and then used ice as he hit it to freeze it, to like start freezing it while he's like uppercutting it. So it like just goes like a giant crack as bits of, well, frozen circuitry and such fly off, as he then picked the thing by the arm and threw it into several other bots as he went on his rampage some more, smashing through bots. Kirishima's like pretty much bodying entire 1-pointers and 3-pointers and blah blah blah. Mina and Eri, they're having to be less of a wrecking ball and more precise. Mina like did have a little bit of training, quote unquote, with her quirk. She learned to like have, like, she precisions it and such in the anime. She learns to do that, like to make it more like a hose. As then with Eri, she learns to, since she has a better control of her quirk now, she essentially rewinds things to a point like they are disassembled, as they literally just fall to pieces, or they return to hunks of iron, or whatever metal they use. Hunks of iron, copper, whatever metal they use for the outer casings. And like everything else, it's just returned to like its origins. As Deku and them are scoring high. That being said, Deku and them are racing through this, getting points upon points. Stop yawning. Deku and them eventually get to the point as Deku's like, oh, it's been a long time since I've had this much fun on a rampage. As then the 0-pointer comes out doing the whole bah bah bah. As Deku is about to like, everyone get back, it's a 0-pointer. As then everyone's about to start running as Deku hears Araka, help, help. As then he sees her like pinned under the rubble. She's like, oh dang it. As Deku was like, as brotherly instincts kick back in, Uragir. As he literally lunges forward, not in a rage, he's just like rushing forward, like, say he's like lunging almost. As he's like creating cracks in the ground, as then he just moves forward, throws off the thing, off the rubble, grabs her, and then he immediately jumps. As with that jumping, they goes a long ways away. As Deku's pretty much just carrying her, as it's like he's running or lunging, whichever. As they make it to a safe distance until it's declared, and it is over. As Deku's like, haven't had my heart race like that in ages. As he then, alright, I'm setting you down now. As then he sets her down. She's like, oh, thank you. As in like, well, I suppose I should be going. And she's like, you're bleeding. As he's like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, that. It's fine. It's like, no it ain't. I think you should, like, see the nurse or whoever they're sending out. Deku says, we'll be fine. As he takes Incinerate and lights a few fires on his fingers and just puts into where he got, like, large cuts. As it's like, see, it's perfectly fine. As his sense of pain is dulled quite a bit. As he does all that, he's like, see, no longer bleeding. As then he walks away. See ya tomorrow. See ya if you get into UA. They're all walking home, Kirishima and them like, I did well. Deku says, I saved the girl from being crushed. Well, how'd you guys do? Eri says, I turned a lot of robots back into scrap, and I even did it with a 0-pointer. That hurt my head a little bit. As he's like, really? Well, hopefully nothing else happens. As then they all walk home, and there's that scene closed. As they're all welcomed into the whole, not circle of life thing, the what is it? Lost my train of thought there for a second. As they're eventually, like, all get their whole, like, little letters from UA. As they're like, should we open it together? Go separately? What? As Eri and Mina are kind of nervous, Deku and Kirishima look at each other like, alright. They sit down on the couch. Eri and Mina follow suit. They all get around the table, as then they, like a little table you'd have in the living room, as they open the thing, as the little disc fall out, as they each get one of the things. As it's like, welcome to, hello, whatever they all might call them. As then he explains the whole, they've been welcomed into UA and you're in 1A, blah, 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 blah. As with that being said, they all, are ready. And with that being said, oh man, got scratched. I can't really itch. I won't get away. Anyways, as Deku and them are prepared, like, are getting ready, they get their uniforms and they're all ready to head out. Deku and Kirishima, like, Kirishima's, like, dyeing. Actually, yeah, his hair was black originally, and since Kirishima has picked up, that admiration for Red Riot, he dyes his hair black. Again. I mean, red. His hair is dyed. As then, he dyes his hair and such, so, his eyes are still red. Just making that clear. His eyes have always been red. His hair was the one that was black. Sorry, I forgot about that, like, little detail about his life. As with that being said, they're all ready to go. And he's like, so everyone's like, oh, you nervous, Kirishima? What about you? Deku's like, no. we're already entered into 1A, their top hero class. Their top hero class. So I don't think we should all be that nervous. We most likely will be paired up and such, and it's not like they are gonna kick us out on the first day. You two should be okay. And it's like, wait, why do you think we're worrying about us? We're worried about you two. And it's like, yeah, right. I can tell. I've been around you guys long enough to know that you guys are scared about getting kicked out. It's obvious. But Kirishima and I will do alright. Don't worry, if you guys get kicked out, we'll become heroes for you. As he gives like a nice little sideways smile as he's like, see, we're alright. As Kirishima's like, stop messing with them. As he's like, what? Come on. I'm finally glad I got, out of that. Oof. I've been able to let loose, and now you guys are telling me to stop letting loose. It's like, we told you to stop doing that. He's like, so I let loose. Deal with it. As Deku and them arrive at the thing, as they open the doors, as then Tensei's like, it's you, as he's looking at Deku, and Deku is looking at Bakugo. Now, in that couple of weeks, well, god dang it. So, a mild change. Deku does not know Bakugo. Period. I wish I had noticed that for sooner, but I didn't. Dang it. Sorry about that, folks. It seems that Deku will not be knowing Bakugo. And I will be having cut out that part of the video that I was just making about him knowing him and meeting Mitsuki again. Because I completely forgot. It's technically been Deku was 16. He lost his mom at 11? Well, not 11, but at 4 or 5 years old. 5 or 6 years old. So he's either, he's 26. 26 is how long Mitsuki would have had to leave him alone. By then, Bakugo would have had kids of his own. And she can't have Bakugo, because that's unless she was, I'd say she was 10 and such, and she was held back for several years. So, I'll exchange all those parts I said about Bakugo with just some bully. Sorry about that, damn it. Fuck. I wish I had noticed that so much sooner, but dang it. Guess I lost myself in the details a little bit. Sorry about that, folks. So, I guess he won't know Bakugo. Anyways, they arrive at school, get introduced to Ida and such, and they officially meet Bakugo, who they still ran into before, but it wasn't that familiar feeling that Deku and Bakugo got. Deku just felt like Bakugo was an asshole. Bakugo would notice that was the guy from TV several days ago. Several months. Several years, actually. As Deku and such are awaiting in class. I wish I noticed that so much sooner. As Deku and them, are waiting and waiting. Araka comes say hello. And then Aizawa pops up like, hello. Doing the whole, took you this long to get quiet. As Deku and Kirishima are listening closely, same thing with Eri and Mina, as Aizawa's going down the list and such, and gets them ready, alright, go change into PE uniforms. As a few of them object, of course, Deku and them listen, because from the sound of him and from the looks of him, they can tell he's not one to joke around. As Deku and them, get moving quickly, as they hurry into the things, then hurry back out. As Mineta is not there, he can die. As Deku and them are ready to go, they're just waiting. It's so, how long do we have to wait here for? It's As then Aizawa and eventually the rest make it out there, like relatively quickly after like they thought about that. Stop yelling. Deku and them eventually make it. Well, they get the whole test thing. As in, it's like, hey, you, green eyes. As then he throws a ball to Deku. Throw this with all your strength. As he's like, alright. As then he like launches it like a catapult. Essentially, yeah. He like gets into like a weird stance. As then he has his arm low. As he then uses his arm, as he uses his body, legs, and like such to like pretty much catapult the ball as it goes using super strength. It goes well over 500 meters. Not enough to break Bakugo's thing, which was like 693. Well, yeah, it was 693 was Bakugo's explosion. As Deku tried to use telekinesis, but he couldn't match it. Kirishima does the same feat, but he's able to like assist using the concussive force thing, as it blasted like an extra 12 meters. Well, since it's a ball, I'll say it actually blasts another 100 or so meters, considering he could, blast splicers away like it was nothing. As then, with that being settled, it's like Deku's like, oh. As they start like going toe to toe with Deku doing all right in a lot of the scenarios. Same thing with Kirishima. They were both built, pretty much made to be physically superior than everyone on average. No, not everyone on average. Even everyone above or even like high tier average. Not high tier average, but like bodybuilders and such. They could match, or at least some of them. Like, what was his name? They could do what Eddie Hall did, I believe is his name, which he did a deadlift, which was 1,578 pounds. But I'm not entirely sure on that one. I think he, broke one of the world records for deadlifts, and he started bleeding from the nose, if I remember correctly. Anyways, enough about that. Essentially I think it was 1,578 pounds, but I'm not entirely sure about that fact. Don't quote me on that. My mistake, it wasn't Eddie Hall used to hold it, which was 1,053 pounds is how much he lifted. But apparently the record's been broken by Bjorn's son, which is the guy who played the mountains from Game of Thrones, who has beat it with 1,100 pounds, and 1,103.52 pounds is how much he deadlift to break the world record. But anyways, I digress. They can essentially do feats like that more easily than some. Some effort is required, but say they could flip a car over pretty easily. They could tear robots like they were doing before easily. So, they're destroying these tests, essentially. They're agile, they're essentially perfect super soldiers. Yeah. Eri and Mina, though, are placing lower, but they don't have the crazy enhancements that their brothers do. With them, Mina able to do speed things with her acid and such. Deku kept up with Ida. Well, he was a little bit lagging a bit behind Ida, but he could still go pretty far using strength and speed of his normal muscles and such. As Deku and Kirishima are up pretty high on the list, with Mina and Eri being on the lower tier of the list. They still have their abilities, a little bit of telekinesis and such, but that's about it. No fireballs, lightning, they just got I can't remember all the abilities Big Sister has, because I rarely fight them, but I know they have telekinesis and such like that. But also, they have telekinesis as their main attribute. Plus, they have some physical superiority over normal like the other like females of class 1A, but they aren't up there with Deku and Kirishima in the slightest. Deku and Kirishima mainly overpowered big sisters. It was the main thing they did. Problem is when they would get stabbed with syringes. This is like, well done. As like everyone scores pretty high, and whoever scored the lowest, I'll say that Aizawa meant it. That he wasn't gonna expel anyone, he just wanted everyone to do their best. As I was hoping, I would like, if I was in that situation, I'm like, Aizawa, how in the world is everyone supposed to pass this test? Even if their quirks aren't physical. Like, look at you. Look at that. Ooh, without your quirk, it took you years of training, so shut up about, not having a powerful quirk. Powerful quirks ain't anything when you can just turn it off like that. Come on, think about it. Now I'm not saying that they do that, but, they go on with it. As Deku and them walk home. No, sorry. As they make their way home and get all that sorted. As they come a couple days again, and then they have to deal with the whole hero training thing. I'm trying to remember which way goes which, because I believe it goes practical, the like little physical exam Aizawa has them do. Then it goes to hero thing, then cafeteria, then All Might. Well, then USJ and such. So, with that being said, Deku and them make their way to, like, after they get that done, All Might comes there as, not All Might, but, Nezu wanted the three of them to stay around. So that way they can discuss matters of, the things that they are wanting to wear. Deku and Kirishima just want to wear their big brother uniforms, essentially, because they see that, well, they protected them from bullets and such, fire, blunt instruments, piercing damage, and pretty much plasmids and such, so they don't see why it wouldn't be good enough to use against quirks. See, as they explain, the thing is that your old stuff isn't exactly the most non-lethal. As Deku says, that's the point. It's supposed to help us with, killing, to defend, giving us maximum protection. The drill is staying on, is what Deku says, because I know you'd want me to get rid of that. There's no way I'm getting rid of that. That thing saved my life more times than anything. Plus, it could help me rescue people by drilling through concrete. Did you think of that? Like, you have telekinesis. He's like, yes, but still, I can only do so much with telekinesis at one time. As Deku's making argument, as pretty much Nezu wants to shut down the whole, lethal weapons. As Deku says, we all have lethal weapons. All Might can snap a person's neck with his finger. Aizawa's the only one who isn't really lethal. Night Eye can make a guy go to sleep forever if she want to. He could shout out his eardrums. Snipe literally shoots things. He has a gun. I can go on and on for all these questions. Vlad King is, from what I can tell, is like the only one who only can kill himself with his ability. Like, come on. You dare point out about us being non-lethal? Fine, how about this? I don't drill people, I'll just smack the shit out of them. Kirishima could, take little slices with his needles and weapons and such. Could even add, a tranquilizer dart on the end of that thing instead of a needle if you wanted. It was supposed to extract atom and such. Or blood, whichever. And as Mina and such, why are we here? It's like, oh, I thought, sorry, as he points out, I thought you'd want, a suit like your brother's here. As they're like, well, if their suit offers the most protections, I believe we do have stuff that was made for big sisters. Like, we could just equip it for you and customize it for your things. As it's like, yeah, that would work. As it's like, fine. Deku says, I'm still not getting rid of the drill. As he's like, come on. It's like, no, that is non-negotiable. As Deku's fighting with, as Kirishima says, yeah, I'd kind of agree with him. The drills are more or less our deterrent, you could say. Like, have a villain that sees us, either knows that we're not afraid to kill him, or knows that getting smacked with it will hurt quite a bit. As he's like, fine, but you're upgrading, is what Nezu says at the very least. We got way better stuff than what Lamb had down there. We can give you better drills, better weapon, better armor, and everything. Deku's like, fine, we'll take it, but better not mess with any of our things. As their stuff was made in advance, like this was happening before UA, so that way, they didn't have this confusion. And that's why, well, Aizawa, he didn't know Aizawa would be his teacher at that point, but he knew some of the other people who worked there at the school. As Deku and them won that argument, as everyone's like, where's Deku and them? Yeah, they should be here by now, as there's just a clank, 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 as a bunch of clangs just ring out, as Deku and them stand out of the shadows. Their visors are either red, pink, yeah, like their stuff is upgraded, and their helmets don't look like diver helmets anymore. With Deku and them stepping out of the shadows, it's like, whoa. As everyone's looking at them, Deku has a giant drill, as it's like, hello, All Might. Hello, everyone. We're ready. It's like, is that thing safe? It's like, oh, we were given permission to have these. Alright, then, is what All Might says. As he announced that they would have to go to separately. As Mina and Eri are like, these things are kind of hard to move in sometimes. As it's like, well, let's say you guys are a bit older than what, I can't remember how, big those things are supposed to get, so, the little sisters were a heck of a lot small, well, the big sisters were a heck of a lot smaller than us, and they were quite weak compared to us as well. That was fault of Lamb's. She thought she could just send droves of them at us. Smash them to bits. As it's like, wait, you guys fought big sisters? Like, how many at once? How tough were they? And going on and on with a list of questions. As it's like, well, essentially put it like this. One of them could kill most of you, I bet, easily. Multiple of them could kill most of you instantly. One of them, no chance. Two of them, no chance. 5 of them, odds start going and start raising up for them, but still low. As he goes on, saying that in the beginning it was difficult, but they always follow the same pattern. Jump away, use telekinesis, rush in for a stab. So as long as you could grab their arm with a stab and take care of the arm, you'd be okay. She's lost around 100. Sorry. As he says, she probably lost around 100 to 200 over a decade of trying to kill us. It's like a decade. It's like, yep, close to a decade. Maybe a couple years longer than a decade. Yeah. She tried her best, but it wasn't good enough. So wait, technically you're in what, your 20s? Late 20s, yes. But stuck down there, I kind of stagnated. But now I can keep on going here. Well, I guess it's okay since it's technically college. Just going to college a bit late, aren't you? It's like, yep. I'm like, oh well. As that's been settled, eventually everyone's split up. As Deku's paired off with... Sorry? Ugh. As Deku's been paired off with, Uraraka. Sorry, I forgot her name for a second. So he explains his abilities to Uraraka, the things that they can do. He's like, the two of us can jump up to the roof, and I could drill in through the top, giving us access to the top floor. Be simple. As it's like, alright. As it's like, alright, this may get a little bit loud. As it's like as he just drills into the ceiling. It drops down before her, and it's like, alright, it's good. As it's like, drop down. And she's like, woo! Lands in his arm. Alright then. Let's sneak around first. Try not to get caught. As he's walking around, Bakugo's like on the bottom floor, like, ugh. Gonna open him like a tin can. Yeah. As in Deku's looking around, it's like, alright, this is the room. As Ida's in there, as it's just like slowly but surely walking in. As Deku's like, you get in first, Uraraka, and I will try to cause a distraction for him. If he comes my way, I could easily take him out. As he's like, alright. As she walks in, as Uraraka hears him doing his, like, villain impression. As she's about to laugh, Deku's like, no. As he's like, alright, going in loud. As he crashes through the door. Hello! Big brother's here! As he, like, pretty much did a, oh no, oh yeah, straight through a concrete wall. As he rushed for Ida. As Ida's like, wait, stop you villain hero. As Deku pretty much rushed forward, trying to grab Ida. Ida ducked, then used his engine to, like, kick Deku in the leg. As it, like, cracked. Ida's armor cracked against Deku's suit. As Deku's like, huh. As he, like, gives, like, a little, rushing forward with the drill, smashing it straight through a pillar. As then he rushed forward at Ida, acting like he was gonna go for Ida. Ida being sort of frazzled or bamboozled. As Uraraka's like, I got the bomb. As it's like, heroes win. As Bakugo's like, what the hell? As he's on the bottom floor, he's rushed up. It's like Uraraka's touched the bomb. He's like, damn it. As then he blasted at Deku. As when Deku, like, sort of had a flashback to, like, some magician splicers. Magician splicers are pretty much splicers that have, like, abilities like incinerate and such. And Bakugo's going pretty fast. As Deku, like, realized this, he jumped forward, almost like had his drill wrenched back, like he was about to impale Bakugo. Then remembered, oh yeah, I'm not down to that place anymore. As then he quickly switched to his left arm, grabbed Bakugo by the side of the face, and forced him down to the ground. As he's like, calm down. As Deku's drill is still raised in the air, and it actually kind of turned on for a second. As he's like, wait, Midoriya, is what All Might said. As he's like, wait a second. As then he pushed Bakugo into the ground. Don't try that. Could have gotten yourself killed. As Deku then walks out. A large thumping or clanging as he walks out of the place. As everyone's like, it's kind of scary. As Kirishima was like, yeah, sorry for that, guys. He kind of, he has... We took a little bit more time to adjust up here than the rest of us. He's gone to a setting and wasn't able to get quite out of it. Even Eren Mina attuned much better. Sorry. As then eventually they each go. As Aries replacing Mineta, so she's working with Momo. As Momo and her discuss a strategy. I forget who Momo and Mineta fight. I think it's Kaminari and such. Then I believe Mina fights with... who was it? whoever they fight with, just say they win. Like, yeah. So that goes from there. Then eventually they make their way to lunchtime. As they have, like, Deku says, hey, I'm looking for, oh, wait, I know who you are. As Deku's like, wait, you do? Their, like, chef had been informed about Deku and Kirishima's special needs for high intake of consumption of high-calorie carb food to, like, keep their engines running, you could say. He's like, yep, as they are served big platters of food, as you, like, Deku's like, thanks, and he's like, don't thank me, thank the school for willing to put this much into your food. Otherwise, you'd be bringing home otherwise you'd be making your own lunches. Like, so they start digging in. As when people join them, as Ida and such join them, he's like, oh, hey guys. As Deku and Kirishima are digging in, as it's like, so, as Ida's like, that is not the ordinary amount that they would give to students. And as Deku says, well, Kirishima and I burned through a lot more energy than you guys would expect. The problem with some of the stuff about Adam and such is that if it's not that you're regenerating using more Adam or Eve, then you have to constantly eat food to replenish energy. And that goes for any time we use plasmids either. It takes us forever if we just wait for them to regenerate naturally. But if we eat and drink, for some reason it turns it into Eve that we can use. It's like Eve, it's like, yeah, think of it as like a Magica bar in a video game. Like, I can shoot off ice, fire, and use telekinesis right now, but it would drain my Eve. It's very confusing. Yeah, I know. Kirishima's has concussive force and lightning, though, so me and him are different, aside from, he having a original quirk and me not. I'm just smarter than him. And they're like, oh, come on, it's not that. It's like, oh, really? Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. As it's just like, they keep shooting rock, paper, scissors, and Deku keeps on winning. He's like, that's just luck. He's like, no, you're one to continue using the same thing over and over again as a strategy. Anyways, what about you guys? As it's like, well, I'm Tenya Ida, as then Deku's like, Ida? Sounds familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. As then Uraraka says, yeah, I agree too. As then that sets off a conversation with Ida about his family. And then, eventually, here comes the people trying to get in. And earlier, when it came to that, Deku and them people try to talk to them about Rapture. Deku and them just push those, like, excuse us, we're trying to get school. Like, yeah, please go away. Well, now, like, one or two asked about Rapture, then a few of them ask about how do they feel about being some of the last remaining big brothers. Like, questions like that, like, I would say insensitive questions, essentially, about that. Like, because to ask, oh, how do you feel about being, like, an almost extinct species? Well, they're human now, but technically people classify them still as big brothers. Because their thing is not the same thing as, like, the human. They're far superior. But they also have a few drawbacks, like I said. Deku and them just ignored them and pushed through. Eventually, with Aizawa doing his whole act, getting the people all the way out. As Deku and them eventually get pinned in the hallway. With the whole thing about presidency, it was struggled between Deku. Well, people didn't vote for Deku because they felt like he wasn't, like, not they didn't vote for. They actually did kind of like Deku for somewhat seeing, like, chill and help, like, sort of laid back a little bit. Then they, like, figured out that Deku's the uptight one, actually. He's just trying to been letting loose a bit more on the advice of Kirishima, as people voted for Kirishima, Deku, and such. So that's where that line is, like, stuck between, is that Deku is, like, president, and the vote is tied between Momo and Kirishima. So it's like, so how do we go from here? It's quite confusing. As eventually, Deku gets that whole situation sorted out with advice from Kirishima. Well, not Kirishima. He pretty much tells not Momo, but he tells Araki to make him float as he's thrown to the thing. As he lets out like a roar, essentially. Well, actually, Kirishima, Deku let out a roar, similar to what a Big Daddy or Big Sister would let out when they became hostile. Like a roar or something. A mix between the two, like I said. As it's like, calm down, it's only the press, you idiots. Stop being a bunch of spineless idiots and calm yourselves down. Jesus. Ah, my ears are bleeding. Oh. That answers that. Now, can we all just go orderly? It's like, alright, well, as that's settled. Eventually, they're dragged away to USJ. Still getting questions from the classmates about abilities and such as they explain them. And then they get asked questions like, so, what was Rapture like? As Kirishima says, well, if you get passed by the terrible fish smell and the, almost being killed several times a day, it was pretty good. Pretty calming. Like, what about you? Like, what do you have to say? If I had the choice between going through that Rapture all over again to end up where I am right now, I'd say let me flip a coin, because that's how uncertain I am about it. Because if I didn't do it, I'd just be a quirkless guy, probably in his late 20s, in an unhappy relationship, trying to make ends meet for myself, and probably thinking about dumping the girlfriend or something. Like, wow, you really think depressively, don't you? It's like, it's part of my charm. I'm usually trying to be upbeat by their choice. Then it ends with slums like this. Because I start thinking, and when I think, it gets annoying. Because having these powers changes almost everything. I'm far superior than any of you physically, and ability-wise, I could probably take out most of you pretty easily. Not most of you, all of you pretty easily. Even Bakugo, crying out loud. What about Todoroki? As he's like, the only challenge is that I would have to get close. But even then, I'd just set some fire beneath me so his ice wouldn't work. And then I'd freeze his left side. Well, hang on. As he looks at his face, I'd freeze his right side, maybe. Depends on which one I decide. What about Aizawa? His thing stops quirks, not Atom. And I'm purely Atom. Same thing with Kirishima. Actually, scratch that. He could cancel out his hardening quirk. He's like, so, would you be able to beat Kirishima? It would come down to a battle of skills at that point. Kirishima would probably outweigh me in toughness, thanks to his quirk being enhanced by Atom. But thanks to something I have on my side, I'd win. It's like, oh really? What's that? A big-ass drill. And with that, it's the end of the conversation. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. I hope y'all continue to enjoy this, and I hope y'all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.